Macroom, Irish, Maigh Chromtha, is a market town in County Cork, Ireland, in the valley of the River Sullane, halfway between Cork City and Killarney. Its Irish Gaelic name may mean meeting place of followers of the god Crom, or crooked oak, the latter a reference to a large oak tree that allegedly grew in the town square during the reign of the English King John. Its population has grown and receded over the centuries as it went through periods of war, famine, forced emigration and intermittent prosperity. In a 2011 census, the broader urban area was recorded as 3,879. Macroom began as a meeting place for the Druids of Munster. It is first mentioned in 6th century records and was the site of a major battle c. 987 involving the Irish king Brian Boru. During the Middle Ages, Macroom was invaded by a succession of warring clans, including the Murcheatach, Briain and receded Cogan families. In the early modern period, the MacCarthy family wrestled control and led the area into prosperity via milling, markets and fairs. The MacCarthys built a series of tower houses, many of which survive. Their fortune was short-lived, and followed the hardships of Williamite wars of the 1690s, when authority over the town castle waxed and waned between the MacCarthys and a number of ambitious, warring English families. In the 17th century, Macroom became a central point of conflict in the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland. The population fell in the 1840s during the Great Irish Famine. Evidence can be found in the former workhouse, now the district hospital at the north side of New Street, and the mass graveyard to the west, near Clondrochad. During the late 18th and early 19th century, a number of Anglo-Irish families, and a branch of the Massey family, settled in the area, but many of their estate houses were burned out by rebels during and after the Irish War of Independence as the town was caught up in a turmoil of IRA activity. From 1976 to 1982, Macroom hosted the Mountain Dew Rock Festival, with lineups that included Rory Gallagher, Thin Lizzy and Van Morrison, attended by Sex Pistol John Lydon. Today the town is an economic hub for the Midwest Cork region, and hosts to a major dan and milk processing factory, which dries and cans infant formula from milk supplied by local dairy farmers. History. Pre-Christian. Evidence of the human activity in the area survives from prehistory, especially the many Iron Age burial monuments. The area is unusually rich with standing stones, dolmens and stone circles. Macroom seems to have been a centre for bardic conventions and a base for the Druids of Munster. The first historical reference to Macroom dates from the 6th century, when the townland was known as Acadobshon and held within the kingdom of Musgraimitein. The Eoganacta were then the dominant clan of Munster. They held kingdoms from Musgraimitein to the Midlands town of Birr. At some point they were replaced by the Uí Floin, who commissioned a castle in Macroom so as to establish Rathlen as capital of Muskerry. Middle Ages. Musgraimitein underwent 3 invasions during the 13th century. The Murcheatach, Briain and receded the Cogan arrived in 1201 and 1207 respectively. The MacCarthys became the dominant and most powerful family and held Macroom Castle until the mid-17th century. From the 14th century, Macroom became the capital of the barony of Muskerry and the centre for trade, burial and religious worship. It was one of the earliest Irish milling centres, and from the end of the 16th century the town grew from a village to a functionally diverse urban centre. The locality grew outwards from the castle. The MacCarthys established the town as a centre for markets and fairs, and in 1620 a market house was built to the east of and facing the castle. The family introduced a plantation scheme which aimed to attract new agriculture and industrial techniques and methods to the area. Early modern period. By the mid-17th century, English families owned approximately one-third of the town in value terms. The Protestant families introduced butter-making to the town, an industry that was labor-intensive and had a positive effect on local dairy farming. The 1650 Battle of Macroom was waged as part of the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland, when an English parliamentarian force under Roger Boyle defeated an Irish Confederate force under David Roche. Bishop Boetius Maigh, fighting on behalf of the MacCarthys, failed to hold the castle and was taken prisoner by the Cromwellian forces and hanged at Carrigadrohead. A 1750 tenement list details 134 buildings and 300 families, with a population ratio of 6:1 between Catholic and Protestants. The town had developed from a locality of mud cabins in the early 1660s to a linear-shaped urban settlement of mainly thatched cabins, which were later replaced by solid cottages following a campaign by the Irish Land and Labour Association. Macroom Castle was for a period controlled by Admiral Sir William Penn, a British admiral and father of William Penn, after whom the U.S. state of Pennsylvania is named. War of Independence. Macroom was the main base in Cork for the British Auxiliary Division during the 1919–1921 Irish War of Independence. The Irish Republican Army was highly active in the county, especially in the areas around Macroom, Bandon and Dunmanway. Royal Irish Constabulary Police in the town described the area as practically in a state of war. After a series of burnings of local police barracks and courthouses, a curfew was imposed on the town, with a ban on public meetings and market fairs. A local IRA member wrote of a hinterland unpoliced and unwatched. The local police felt they had lost control and the auxiliaries were called in. The local townspeople treated them with hostility, and there were instances of patrols being stoned. They quickly found themselves embroiled in a guerrilla battle in the Muskerry Hills, coming under fire from the Ballyvourney Irasel, and lost 3 men, 2 of them officers, in one attack. In 1920, at Carmichael, on the road between Macroom and Dunmanway, 17 members of the Macroom Auxiliary C Company were ambushed and killed by a local Irasel led by the prominent General Tom Barry. In the aftermath of the attack, the British military were given the power to execute anyone found carrying arms and ammunition, to search houses, impose curfews, try suspects in military rather than civilian courts, and to intern suspects without trial. On the 11th of December, in reprisal, the centre of Cork City was burned by auxiliaries, British soldiers in black and tans. Macroom Castle was burned out on 5 separate occasions. The last occasion was on the 18th of August 1922 following the evacuation of British auxiliaries from the town. Members of anti-treaty forces, including Erskine Childers and Frank O'Connor, retreated from Cork City to Macroom, burning the castle before leaving Mount Massey. The former, now ruined, 18th and 19th century home of the members of the Massey family is located north by Kilnagorteen, and gave the townland of Massey Town its name. They family were major landowners with land covering 13,363 acres and extending from Clondrohead to Drishane. Later the home acted as was an auxiliary workhouse. It was laid siege and eventually burned in December 1920. During the War of Independence, the revolutionary soldier and politician Michael Collins was killed in 1922 in an ambush near Bale na Blath. Lady Olivia Ardalaun, a descendant of the MacCarthys, and widow of Lord Ardalaun, sold the castle domain in 1924 to a group of local businessmen, which they put in trust for the town. Geography. Macroom was built on the River Sullane, a tributary of the River Lee. Its hinterland lies on a valley at the foot of the Boghera Mountains. The town stretches for about 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers, and largely consists of 2 long streets, Main Street and New Street, divided by the 10-arch bridge, which also leads off to the suburb of Massey Town, further towards the village of Ballynagree and the Boghera Mountains. Until the 1950s, New Street was the town's economic hub and Main Street, and contained many small retail outlets. Climate. Like the rest of Ireland, the climate is temperate maritime, very even and heavily influenced by the North Atlantic current, resulting in mild winters and cool summers. Weather in Macroom is mild, usually warm, temperate and humid, with significant rainfall throughout the year, averaging at 1,164 millimeters. Rain falls on average around 21 days of each month, peaking in December, average 24 days, and falling off slightly in June, average 21 days. Snow is uncommon. It tends to fall in January or February, for an average of 2 to 3 days per year. Wind speeds vary from c 80 km per hour AVG in winter, to 50 to 52 in summer. The mean temperature is 10.1 degrees Celsius. Economy. The economy is primarily agricultural lead. Local dairy farmers are members of Dairy Gold Cooperative. Their milk is dried or evaporated in Mitchellstown as skim milk or whey concentrate, and eventually supplied to the local Dannon plant, which produces infant formula for a worldwide market. Tourism. Tourist attractions include the town centre, an 18-hole golf course, and the castle grounds, with fishing and golfing grounds. The town's surroundings contain large amounts of megalithic monuments, early Christian holy wells, churches and sacred sites associated with ancient visionaries and healers. Murcheatach Mountain is located a few kilometers to the north of the town, near Mill Street Country Park. It contains the ancient St. John's Well. Carrigafo'ocha Castle, really a tower house, is 6 kilometers west of the town, but no longer accessible to the public. The Castle Arch, the centerpiece of the old castle grounds, admits walkers to the domain parklands. It is still held in trust as a gift to, and possession of, the people of Macroom. This large park contains riverside walks among mature oak and beech trees. In early October it becomes an area of keen interest to mushroom enthusiasts. Macroom oatmeal is milled here by the traditional stone grinding process at Walton's Mill. The Gira. The Gira is a national nature reserve on an inland delta. Is located 1.5 kilometers, 0.93 miles, south of Macroom. It comprises a series of small islands, separated by an astamosing, mostly flat, river channels or streams, and is bounded by Toon Bridge, Ilorn Moor, and Anahala Bridge. The area is thought to have been wooded since the end of the last ice age c. 8000 BC. The alluvial woodland extended as far as the Lee Bridge, and consisted of a large number of mature oak and ash trees. The reserve was gutted in 1954 when the Lee hydroelectric scheme led to extensive tree felling and flooding. Now submerged houses are visible from the area around 2 Mile Bridge. The scheme resulted in the loss of 60% of the former oak woodland. Today, the Gira is of interest and importance due to its rich and rare diversity of wildlife, and represents the only extant extensive alluvial woodland in Western Europe. Carrigafo'ocha Castle. Carrigafo'ocha Castle is a ruined 5-story rectangular tower house situated on a steep-sided rock 6 kilometers west of Macroom. It was built as a defensive tower in 1436, probably by Donald MacCarthy of Druidshain. In 1602, the castle was attacked and taken by Donald Cam O'Sullivan Bere. During the 1970s, the Office of Public Works undertook restoration of the site, and added a flight of steps leading over the rock base, joining with the main entrance. The ground floor chamber is lit by small off-center windows, and is flanked by a straight mural stairs which rises as a spiral to the 4th floor level. Mountain Dew Festival From 1976 to 1982, Macroom hosted the annual Mountain Dew Festival, organized by young local business people. The festivals attracted up to 20,000 attendees each year. It was the first of its kind for Ireland, and was intended to reinvigorate a town that was then stagnant economically. According to one of the organizers, Martin Fitzgerald, the town needed a bit of shake, rattle and roll to tempt not just international investors but Irish people to rest there a bit long. A rock concert fitted the bill. The lineups included Rory Gallagher, Phil Lynott, Elvis Costello, Van Morrison, Marianne Faithfull and Horselips, and was attended by John Lydon of the Sex Pistols. Transport. Macroom is on the national primary route M22, approximately 38 kilometers from Cork City and 48 kilometers from Killarney. The nearest airport is Cork Airport. A railway ran between the town and Cork City from 1866 to 1953, terminating in the Mart grounds. By 1890 there were 5 services each way on weekdays and 2 on Sundays, with the running time taking just over an hour. Macroom Railway Station opened on 12 May 1866. It closed for passenger traffic on 1 July 1935 and for goods traffic on 10 March 1947, and was finally closed on 1 December 1953. Education. The town has 2 primary schools and 3 secondary schools. A De La Salle for boys, St. Mary's Secondary School, Convent of Mercy for girls, and McKeegan College, a mixed technical college located in the castle grounds. The Convent of Mercy Secondary School is situated within the Sisters of Mercy's complex attached to St. Coleman's Church, which also includes a convent, primary school, graveyard and grotto. Collège de La Salle was opened in 1933 and originally located in the town hall, until a permanent building was completed 3 years later. By the late 1970s the school was experiencing severe capacity issues and a restructure and extension of the school was undertaken in 1982. Since its opening the ratio of pupils has remained relatively stable, with 40% coming the town and the rest from surrounding parishes. A new building was built in 2008 for St. Coleman's Boys National School after years of planning, applications and appeals. Notable people: Michael O'Leary, d. 1961, recipient of the Victoria Cross; John A. Murphy, historian, former senator, current emeritus professor of history at University College Cork; Donal Creed, retired Fine Gael politician, MEP; Teach Tadala, Minister of State under Garret Fitzgerald; Michael Creed, Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Gallery. Sources. Notes. Cope, Julian. The Modern Antiquarian. Thorsons. 1998. ISBN 978-0722535998. Hart, Peter M. The I.R.A. and Its Enemies. Violence and Community in Cork. 1916–1923. Oxford, Clarendon Press. 1999. Howe and Parsons. Ireland. Its Scenery, Character, etc. 1841. O'Reilly, H. Survey of the Gira, an area of wet woodland on the River Lee, near Macroom, Co. Cork. The Irish Naturalist's Journal, Volume 11, No. 10, 1955, 279–286. Ring. Dennis Paul. A Historical Geography of Macroom c. 500–1995. Castle House Publications. 1995. White, Jerry and O'Shea. Brendan. The Burning of Cork. Cork. Mercia Press. 2006. Official town website.